What's going on YouTube? Got another video for you here today. It's been a while. I've been working. I've been doing some other things, playing a bunch of Counter-Strike, stuff like that. But the league's about to start 3.24. So I've been trying to figure out what we're going to do. And it's looking like we're going to go ahead and do another Lightning Arrow league starter. And then eventually we will transition it into our Magic Find. And we'll probably stay Lightning Arrow throughout the duration. Tornado Shot took a bit of a nerf this time around, which, it was deserved. The ability is just so powerful. And we're going to try something a little bit different. We're actually going to try to do a physical to lightning conversion and see how that feels. I've done multiple, we've done physical to cold, we've done cold to, or lightning to cold, we've done a lot of different versions, but this time around, I think I'm going to try to do a physical convert to lightning. And luckily, with some of the things that exist, it's a lot easier to convert physical to lightning than it is physical to cold. So it's a lot cheaper, and there's multiple different ways you can do it. You can get it on the gloves. 50% of it already exists on the gem itself. Then you can use, things like the so this is basically what we're going to go with, and physical to lightning converts physical 50% of it just right off the bat, and then you also get 29% of physical as extra lightning. So it's a decent. We might switch off this later down the road, but this is a really cheap way to convert our last 50% as opposed to having to use the tree or gloves or something like that, or a watcher's eye to get the rest of it. And that's probably what we'll do down the road, but this is a really nice way to get it done quickly. And then the other 50% comes from Lightning Arrow itself. So it should be pretty good. This is pretty standard setup. I have some things in here that, we'll kind of see how it's feeling. Returning Proj is fantastic. And we'll probably use that over Chain, at least for now, as well as Mirage Archer, and then Vicious Proj, just because it's so good for conversion, Inspiration, for some crit chance, and, lower the mana cost, things like that. And then obviously Elemental damage with attacks is going to be probably the biggest damage. And while you're looking at this isn't, exactly how I'm going to start it. What I'll do is, I'll stream every day. So if you guys are interested in this, just come pop over and we can kind of see where it's progressing. I typically don't like to plan out my builds, every little detail from start to finish, because I kind of like to just kind of see what happens, see what I get with, maybe make some changes, try some things out, stuff like that. So, and again, this is just in standard trade league. I don't play hardcore or anything like that. So that's one of the reasons why I don't plan things out quite as much as maybe some other people do. And then eventually we will end, like I said, on a Magic Find version of this once we're a lot deeper into endgame. The items that I have in here, and we'll come back to the gems. I want to do a quick little kind of recap. The items that we have in here, they're all crafted basically what I want, and these aren't necessarily league starter items, but these are items that you can obtain within the first 4 or 5 days of the league. Some of these, these uniques are, fairly easy to obtain early. We might go with like Rat's Nest here, on day 1 or day 2, and then eventually swap over to this. Focusing heavily on damage, life, and spell suppression, and then evasion. So those will kind of be our big focuses early on. Just trying to grab whatever gear we can. Again, the gloves are pretty standard. Nothing too crazy here. Again, boots, nothing crazy. I just crafted things that a lot of these items will be easily obtainable within the first, 2 days, depending on how much you get to play. But again, the bow itself, this one in particular, there's no extra arrows on it or anything like that. This, you can craft for a few divines. So again, this is probably something that you'll be able to obtain within the first 3 to 4 days of the league, depending on your experience level. Maybe sooner than that. This is obtainable in the first day or two if you're a lunatic and you can make it to maps and do all that kind of stuff. So it all kind of depends. And like I said, once the league drops, I'll be streaming and I'll have my active POB available so that you guys can kind of see if, maybe you get a start or you get stuck somewhere, you can come ask questions or whatever the case may be. So again, don't look too much into the gear. As far as the jewels, these are just kind of the 3 mods that I'm looking for. It's good. These are a little bit more expensive and going to be harder to obtain early, but you can try to start looking for some of the, one or two of these things at a time. Maybe you get lucky and find something real cheap for a couple chaos that has all three. But life, attack speed, and then crit chance. Crit chance isn't really too crazy until you kind of get later into the into your build, because we'll start early with, this is the tree we're going to end on, and again, this is, a 94, so it's not super super early. But what we'll end up doing is we'll end up taking precise technique early on, before we swap into some of these crits, the crit nodes and things like that. These ones here as well. So we'll wait on those. And then with this is a really powerful keystone early on. You just need to make sure that your accuracy number is higher than your life, right? The flat number itself. So, right here we're sitting at, if we look at this POB, we're at 4,200 accuracy, and then life, we are at 3,400. So we'd be safe right here. And this again has very little, my gear has very little life and things on it. And so, it's very minimal gear. But this is the tree we're going to be going for. And then eventually when we switch over to crit, we will remove this and then move into some of the crit nodes, take these ones, stuff like that. But otherwise, we want the additional projectiles. I did work in a large cluster here. This will obviously come much later, but you can get a hold of one of these for fairly cheap in the first couple days, and then craft something. Maybe not this one specifically, but you can get something pretty early on. And again, I'm happy to help people. I'll be crafting these on stream and all that. So if you have questions or whatever the case is. And this tree might change up a little bit as we go. Again, like I said, I don't like to really solidify. I like to kind of see how things are going. Maybe, we drop some gear that has really good accuracy on it, so maybe we can move this into something else for a little while, or whatever the case may be, right? And because this is a league starter, we're going to want to go ahead and get ailment immunity. We're not going to be using purity of elements until much later when we actually convert to magic find for our league starter. We're going to want to track that down. So the most expensive item early on, outside of maybe a bow like this, is going to be Ancestral Vision. These are usually a couple divines early on, but this will be big survivability. Once we get our spell suppression up, we'll grab this, and then this will cap out our ailment immunity, so we'll be immune to freeze, shock, ignite, all that kind of stuff. So that's really big for your league starter. Make sure that you make sure you sort that out early on, because by the time you get to red maps, you pretty much need to be ailment immune. So that'll be the goal when we're getting into late yellows, early red. We're going to save up for Ancestral Vision so that we can max out our ailment avoidance. And again, we don't have it in right now. We have 50% just from the tree itself, from these nodes here, and then these life nodes. So that gives us 50%. The other 50% will come from Ancestral Vision. So that's something you do want to focus, probably even before you use your cluster. As far as this goes, these points here, you can put these anywhere. I might actually work them up into this region here and take another life node, take crit, a little bit of attack speed. We might come up here, and then again, you can grab like the suppression evasion node right here. So all of that can be, if we remove this and then we go something like this, so that's, and then you can have another cluster or another jewel slot. So this is probably what the tree will look like until we get our cluster jewel. And then again, like I said, get Ancestral Vision early. They're not, they usually are a couple divines within the first few days of the league, first week, something like that. But it's a huge increase. So, when you get into reds, hopefully you'll have a little bit of currency, a divine or two, and you can figure it out and get yourself an Ancestral Vision. Maybe you'll get lucky enough and drop one with all the, the new rarity stuff that's starting to show up that you can, add modifiers to the maps and things like that, scarabs, all that. So that's basically the general tree. We want a little bit of life on hit, life, power charge, an extra power charge. We're not super worried about the frenzy, but the extra power will be nice, and it's only one extra node, so that'll be nice. We've got our additional projectiles, accuracy, life. This is a really big node. You want to take this fairly early. Hits have a chance to treat enemy resistance. Values is inverted. This is a very powerful node. Then we take, the crit stuff again can wait. You don't necessarily need you don't need any of that until you remove precise technique. Once you get rid of this, you can start taking these crit nodes. Here we have long shot with a little bit of projectile speed. We try to get as much projectile speed as possible because we use bow mastery. Increased reductions to projectile speed also apply to damage. You can get a lot of projectile speed on this part of the tree, so feels good. As far as our ascendancy, we will take Gathering Winds first so that we can get that tailwind and just help us with clear, move a little bit faster, all that kind of stuff. We'll come up to long shot. Then depending on how the build's feeling, we'll either go with focal point or endless munitions. We'll kind of see how that's feeling. If we feel like we need projectiles, then we'll go with this. If we feel like we need a little bit more damage or a little damage reduction, then we'll go with focal point. So, but definitely Gathering Winds first and then far shot. And that's that. So as far as skills, like I said earlier, we already went over lightning arrow. For our other 6 link in our body armor, we're actually going to go with lightning arrow of electrocution, just because this got buffed. As you can see, it damages the target 5 additional times after it sticks. So, if you're shooting 5 arrows and it sticks, they all stick in, and that's why we want to take long shot, because it causes barrage to shoot just a perfect laser beam. And then we're using ballista totem with barrage support, and then again we have our physical to lightning, vicious proj, and then elemental damage with attacks. So again, no focus ballista, no inspiration for now. Eventually, when we switch to pure magic find, this 6 link will become a pure aura, so we'll have 5 auras in there with a level 4 enlightened, but that's way down the road, very expensive. So for now, while we're clearing, trying to get our void stones and all that kind of stuff, this is what we'll be using in our other 6 link. So normal val arrow in our bow, right? So this is going to be the one we attack with, and then for bossing and single target will be lightning arrow of electrocution, barrage, ballista totem. So again, it's I tested it out a bit, and I tested it on a low level, and it felt good. It was doing good damage in conjunction with you using normal lightning arrow. So there's other options you can use here, but this is what I'm going to try out this time around and see how it feels. And then as far as auras, we're going to go Grace, Wrath, and then and Dread Banner. Eventually precision we may or may not need. We'll work that in if need be. This is obviously without any enlighten or anything like that. And we're in the negative for now, but with depending on we'll be able to obtain a level 3 enlighten hopefully somewhat early in the first few days, so we'll work that in and be all good. Otherwise our first 2 will be Grace and Wrath, so we definitely want those. And then we have, at some point, if we can go ahead and get a Hyri's Truth, Jade Amulet, that's where we'll get our precision from until we can craft, a nice, maybe, a +2, or maybe we'll end up going with Omniscience. But again, once we get moved to Magic Find, we'll go with either a Simplex or an Eyes of the Great Wolf. Once we have the money for it. And then in our boots, we have Sniper Mark, Mark on Hit, Life Tap, and Flame Dash. So now we don't need to use mana for these. Excuse me. At some point, we'll want to lose Life Tap. Need some water. Sorry, boys. But we'll use Life Tap early on just to help us with mana and whatnot. And again, we have Life Tap on our Mana Forge that's in our gloves. We have Mana Forge, Frenzy of Onslaught, Life Tap, Power Charge. This is an insanely good combo. Basically, out of a 3 link, you're getting power charges, onslaught, frenzies. So it's huge. You want to get Frenzy of Onslaught as early as possible. When you're running your labs, if you see that in there, 100% grab it. This is one of the more important ones. This will help with clear speed, getting you through the axe, all that kind of stuff. So if you see this early, 100% grab it. It's very good, very powerful. And again, there was some questions last league when I was using it of like, oh, you're not at max frenzy, you're not at this, but you're basically the way that it works is you basically have uptime, 100% uptime on both. Every once in a while, your frenzies will drop for half a second, and then it's right back up, and they stay up as long as the duration of onslaught, which is 4 seconds, I believe. So every 4 seconds, your frenzies will drop for about a half second. So it's really minimal downtime on frenzies, and then obviously power charges are great. You can work this in later, but definitely these 3 you're going to want as soon as possible. Frenzy, like I said, can't stress it enough. Frenzy of Onslaught, absolutely massive. So those are our gem slots. Items, we kind of did a quick look. I have, just a basic one in here that, is kind of whatever, life, suppress, whatever. We'll get a high resire as soon as we can. Might come a little bit late. High res truth, same thing. This will probably be the first unique that we go after is the high res truth, just so we can get free precision. You get the crit multi, you get the culling strike, all that. So this is a very, very good amulet to get as early as possible. Um, and yeah, and then as far as quiver, this is pretty subpar. You find a unique or whatever the case is, you can slap that in. It's not super important. We don't have any extra arrows or anything, and as you can see, combined DPS is decent, with this kind of subpar gear, and that's that. So and this is, boss damage, and, we've got 4 frenzies, or I'm sorry, 4 power charges, 3 frenzies, gale force, inspiration, life tap, onslaught, so it's all in there, nothing crazy, but, that's about it. So this is where we're going to start. So again, lightning arrow in our 6th link, lightning arrow of electrocution in our 6th link body armor with ballista totem and barrage. We want to shoot those laser beams. It's very focused on single target. And so I think it should be good. I'm pretty excited to try this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And the damage should be good. Lightning arrow is a ton of fun. It's super, super fun. Microtransactions, there's some cool ones. So that's that. What I do want to say is once you get to the point where, and this is my magic find, so don't look at this. This is my magic find from 323. There's a lot here, so don't pay attention to this. This is not it. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you how you could craft a bow for fairly inexpensive, 7, 8, 9, 10 divines, depending on your luck. And we're going to do a quick little craft of one. All of these things, we'll see the veiled chaos orbs have changed a little bit. They personally, to me, sound like they're going to be better. So we'll see how this goes. So this crafting method should function the same. If it doesn't, please let me know in the comments, because this is something that I'm going to need to know as well. But now the veiled chaos orbs may be a little bit harder to obtain, but also what they'll do is they'll remove one mod and add a new one. It doesn't completely, it works more like Aisling as opposed to a chaos orb now. So from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong. But again, so we have some essences here. We have deafening. These are not super cheap early league, but you can, essence is a really good farm early league, so you might be beneficial. I'll purposely focus on essences early on. Essences, expedition, things like that. Those are what I like to focus early. It's good currency. Obviously essences are very, very powerful. So this is something that I'll probably craft within the first maybe 4 or 5 days of the league once I get, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 divine. And we're basically just going to start with a 6 link early. It won't make a difference. Obviously, you can get yourself a spine bow. That's better. But otherwise, we just want a non-corrupted 6 link. I will probably go farm up some of these porcupine div cards, which you can find. If you go to the wiki, just search the porcupine div card. It'll show you the maps you can farm them up on. So we'll probably go focus on some form of divination card that's going to give us a 6 link, right? Because again, obviously we want projectiles, all that, but we don't have a ton of currency early, so really we just want flat damage. That's what and maybe attack speed, crit, stuff like that. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So we'll come in again, go get your div cards. We have our thing here. We'll come in and quality it up. Get it to 20. Obviously, those are pretty cheap. If you have the fossils, the perfects, you can use those too. Again, it just depends on what you're farming. You'll probably have some of this stuff. You'll probably have to go buy some of this stuff. So just keep that in mind. And so what we're going to do is we're just basically going to... what do we want here? So we're just going to start hitting this with, again, either flat physical or flat lightning essences, whatever you can get your hands on, whatever level, whatever the case is. And we're just going to start hitting it until we get the other thing, right? So if we're using fizz, then we're just going to wait on a decent little lightning roll. That might have been one that you kept. Okay, so this has... good fizz on it, right? So this is and attack speed. So this is something that I would probably stick with this early on, right? Like it doesn't have the flat lightning on it, but that hit pretty good. And for early league, that cost us a couple essences. Maybe we can turn in another one since that was pretty quick, and we'll try it again. So again, you come in, give it a little quality. Our essences, and again, these ones are expensive, but you know, it is what it is. So there's fizz. So we want fizz and lightning is what we're looking for. Fire. Okay, so there's an open prefix right there, right? So ideally, okay, so now we have an open suffix and an open prefix. Sorry, so this is where we want to be right here. Again, that's a really low lightning roll. If you have more money, roll it better. And then we're going to come over. Prefixes cannot be changed, right? Hit it. Gave us a prefix, right? So we're going to come in, unveil, and hope for fizz. Boom, there's fizz right there. Okay, so there you go. So that took a second. Looked like more currency than it actually was. But that cost us, what, 4 divine right there to do that. So not bad. And now we have physical, and flat lightning. So decent damage on there. This will be nice. And then you can come in and then craft on probably attack speed, maybe crit. And now you have a good little starter bow, right? So this is something that is obtainable within the first few days, and this will be really, really nice damage early on. So, you know, obviously we want extra arrows, we want crit, we want all that kind of stuff. So depending on how much money you have, you can kind of go about your business. And then, you know, this is it right here. So not too bad. This is a really low level. You know, these porcupine div cards give you a level 50, so there's a lot of things that can't roll on it. But again, you know, depending on what you're doing, there are other div cards that are available. Maybe you can just get a clean 6 link on a harbinger or something like that for 10, 15, 20 chaos, you know, in the first few days. You know, and you know, 6 links, you know, once you get into red maps, you start to see them if you're running strong boxes and stuff like that. So just keep an eye out for that. And but yeah, so this is basically the starter bow that I'm going to try to obtain within the first 3, 4, 5 days of the league. Depending on, maybe we'll get really lucky and get a big drop on something and get some money, and we can spend a little bit more time on it. But again, just to show you, so here we have, you know, this bow that I would probably just keep anyways, just because it has good fizz. This is 190 up to 196. This is up to 218. So same situation. If we get that lucky, you know, we'll just come in and it has attack speed already. So on this one, we would probably just do like maybe a crit chance or a crit chance strength int, just because we'll be missing those. So this right here would also be really nice. Either of these, both easy to craft early on. We had 21 divines sitting here, so that cost us 4 divines to get these 2 bows. Not too bad. These, we'll see how much the veiled chaoses are, or veiled orbs, whatever they're called now. So, and we'll see. And then obviously the essences themselves are not super cheap. So, you know, again, we probably crafted one of these with the essences and the veil. Yeah, it's definitely sub 10 divines. But you know, and then again after this, you will try to get an extra arrow. Then eventually we'll move to 2 extra arrows, and then, you know, same thing with the quiver. Like, you know, obviously this is something like this is the dream. We crafted this last league on stream, so again, we'll be doing a lot of this. If you guys want help crafting this, we actually mirrored. This was my first ever mirror item. And same thing here. We bought this base for an obscene amount, and then we crafted this. So a lot of these we crafted ourselves. You know, crafted the helmet, we crafted these gloves. Last thing I wanted to mention here is kind of what we will be shooting for, kind of our end game lightning arrow, just so you can get an idea of what that looks like. It's a fairly similar tree. But this was my end game lightning arrow magic find in 321. I will put these all these POBs in the description so that you can, you know, kind of cruise over them or make adjustments or do whatever you want to do. But as you can see, you know, we use, there's a lot of different ones you can use here. Now that maybe the tattoos are back, we might want to go with the one that makes it so there are no attribute requirements. But this one's usually pretty cheap. I use the 114300 Elegant Hubris, just because this gives us plus 40 crit multi, plus 40 crit multi. So those 2 nodes are 80 crit multi. Then we also have rarity here. You have increased effect of non-curse auras, and then you also have attack speed, 15% increased attack speed, all from this one little node. So it's really, really nice. So we'll probably go with this. Last league we were using Lethal Pride, just because double damage, you really needed a lot of damage and stuff last league, and Lethal Pride is just a little bit more damage. But for this league, I think we'll probably try to go back to Elegant Hubris. Obviously, the Massive Thread of Hope. These are very expensive, but very important for the end game. This is usually the last thing that you obtain, or one of the last things. As far as uniques and stuff, we craft jewels that look like this. So 12 passive, damage with bows, and then increased effect, chaos resistance, intelligence. We're usually starved for int a little bit, and then down here we have attack speed, damage, ele res, increase effect, all 12 passives, and then we've got some Storm Rider and some daring ideas and stuff like that. So these are pretty nice. As far as our ascendancy, we will probably move things around. Maybe we'll keep focal point, but once we move off of bossing and getting our void stones, we don't necessarily care as much about focal point, so we'll probably just go grab some ricochet instead. Otherwise, this is pretty similar. Skills, your lightning arrow, pretty standard. Crit, chain, trinity. This, I'll probably get some questions about this. I prefer with tornado shot, I prefer fork. With lightning arrow, I prefer chain. So it just kind of synergizes a little bit better in the way that oh, why is this electrocution? I don't want this. So this won't be electrocution on our main one. This will just be normal, lightning arrow. And then we have a little bit different. This is an old one, so some of the gems and stuff didn't exist. So these are a little bit different. But this is the general idea of what we're going to be looking for. And then again, obviously we crafted this bow. This was the, obviously you can have those trees on there. So you're not going to be able to obtain that, but all the rest of the stuff is pretty similar to what we were working with. And yeah, so that's that. So again, this is kind of what we're aiming towards. So it's not a huge change, but it does cost some currency to get us to this point. Typically these 12 passives are very expensive. They were extremely expensive last league. So we went with 10s on our Magic Find last league, just because for me personally, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Although a 12 passive is best in slot right here by the time you get to end game. This build, by the time it got to this point, was probably 4 or 5 mirrors. So as you can see, this is not something you obtain as a league starter. This is what we are working towards. So I always get people like, you can't do this league start. Yeah, I know you can't do this league start. This is not the league start version. This is our goal, something that looks like this. But again, we're going to have to farm up for probably a month-ish to get it to this point. So again, going back, this is a much cheaper tree to obtain and league start viable. So hope this was helpful, guys. Please, again, like and subscribe. Come stop by the stream. Any questions, if you want to check it out, if you want to tell me I'm an idiot, whatever the case is, come stop by. I'll be live Friday and then from here on out. Appreciate you all more than you even know, and hope you have a good league start. Choose something dope.